A lot of mixing is using a lot of subtle production methods, but those all add up into a better product, I think, in the end. Per the request of some of you, I've decided to make a video about how I record stuff. This is not the correct way necessarily to record stuff, but I'll show you how I do it. It's fairly simple. This is a song from my Always video that I took and changed somewhat just to make it more me. I did other things that I wanted to do to it that I wouldn't have necessarily done in the Always focused video. So let's get into it. I like to start off with drums because I feel like they are the foundation of a song, at least when I'm recording or writing. It really helps me get into the right headspace for what I'm going for. So I start by picking a drum kit from the library of sounds in Logic. I go with the producer kits because it also lets you go to each instrument, each part within the drum kit, and do what you want to it. That being said, I don't do much aside from the occasional EQ and some compression on parts that need to cut through more, such as the snare and kick drum. But, you know, you have the option to do that, which I would rather have the option to fiddle with it rather than not having the option. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just, you just want to get a good drum sound for what you want. We'll talk about bass now. I almost always go for the hi-fi DI sound in the bass section of the library. It just sounds clear to me, so I don't know, I like it. I almost always put the rock bass preset compressor on the bass because it just gives it a thicker sound that I like. Again, makes it cut through, and it's just saturated and full, so hasn't done me wrong yet. This is my EQ. Most of the time, it looks like this. Most of the sound of the bass is going to be around 100 hertz, so you can cut around 60, because a lot of the noise below that you won't even hear. Upper mid boost, just to make the bass not just be super low droning nothing in the mix. And also a cut around 3000 to 4K. The sound up there you're not going to need for the bass at all. Any sound you would get out of that range would only be like buzzing from errors in your signal, like I have. So I just cut it. And this leaves you with a pretty decent bass sound, I think. For guitars, when it comes to clean guitar, I usually go for the clean room. Just sounds very clear and defined. I don't mess with the amp settings too much. I look for an amp that I like, and if I like the sound, I just keep it how it is for the most part, other than effects that I may add, such as chorus. Because as an indie boy, I gotta have chorus on my guitar, obviously. This is, again, generally what the EQ will look like for my rhythm guitar. Do a boost around 100, cut around 200, boost around 500, boost from the 2K to 4K range. And the other guitar or lead guitar, whatever you want, I make the EQ similar, but I move the boosts or the cuts around slightly so that the two guitars don't just mesh with each other and become one massive guitar. In this song, I also heavily EQ'd it just to make it flatter sounding because the dynamics of my guitar playing weren't to my liking, or it didn't have the effect that I wanted. I wanted a textural, glassy landscape sort of thing, if you know what I mean. You may want that kind of thing, or you may want a very dynamic sound for your guitar in whatever song you're working on. I just didn't want to do that. Here's what that sounds like. When it comes to crunch or distorted guitar, I usually go for the hot rodded amp It simulates a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, which is an amp that I really like. So that's what I use. In this particular case, it has the same EQ on it as the clean lead guitar, which probably isn't the best practice to use. That's just what I have it on right now. I may change it in the future depending on what I do with the song. I didn't put any compression on this guitar aside from what was already on it. For this song, I made it so that the synth was an agent of warmth that works in the background. The guitars are kind of bright, and this helps fill out the sound, basically. Depending on what you want to be the focus of the song, you may want to EQ to make the synth more noticeable, or your guitars more noticeable. For vocals, my secret weapon is the Nectar Elements thing from Isotope, which is an external plugin you have to buy. You basically turn it on and it senses what your track needs, what your vocal track needs, and you can add or subtract the amount of processing that the plugin gives you. I take away the reverb that it gives you. I want to add my own reverb, and I would suggest adding your own reverb because the reverb in Nectar is not too great, but I think its EQ function is really good, and that's what the clarity thing is. I usually turn that all the way up just to capitalize on its ability to make your vocal cut through. In addition to that, I put my own compression on it. My compression, I think I really squash it. You know, I'm not too well read on this kind of stuff, but I'll just say that for my sort of more sullen or quiet singing, I try to get the dial to go up to about 5, and for my loud singing, I try to go up to about 10. The compression is working harder on my louder singing parts, but it's still working on my quieter parts, just so it all comes down to a similar level, so that everything is heard and so that everything isn't too loud. Instead of doing the Nectar reverb, I use this Valhalla Vintage Verb, which my friend Tilo kindly bestowed upon me, and it's just a great reverb. I'm thinking about using this and or other songs on an EP. Maybe I'll record another album. I don't know. I don't really have anything to do, so why not record another album? Let me know if you want me to record another album, if you care. Thanks for 300 subs. Pretty cool. I appreciate your nice comments. See ya.